All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another WNBA playoff video. Very busy weekend in the WNBA. We had a set of game threes on Friday, and then we had a set of game fours on Sunday. We had one elimination, one injury, a lot of trash talking over the last couple games. I want to talk about um, both the games that happened on Friday and both the games that happened on Sunday. I do have notes for all the games, especially the one on Friday, because I knew it would be a while until I had the chance to talk about it. Now we're here on Monday. I want to break down that game a little bit. I want to break down the Mercury Lynx series as a whole, since that's the one that finished up, and then we'll look ahead towards Fever Aces in Las Vegas towards the end. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment down below. And just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So let's jump into these game threes that happened on Friday. I do have notes. I just want to make that clear. Again, I have notes, but this game did happen on Friday, so I kind of forgot about them, but they were important nonetheless. So we're going to talk about this first game. I want to talk about Indiana Fever versus the Las Vegas Aces, game three. The Aces won this game 84 to the Indiana Fever 72. And it was pretty it was it was pretty much like the first two games of this series. The Aces were very convincingly ahead. Not very, they were convincing in their play, and they were also ahead at halftime. They ran a really good game in the first half, um, first quarter, second quarter. Then in the third quarter, um, the Fever went on a run, all three levels, in the paint, in the mid range, by the 3 point line. They had it going to start that second half, and the pace was absolutely killing the Las Vegas Aces. They they were they were running. I was just thought about. I had a flashback. I'm sorry. The Fever were running. They were moving the ball. They were getting in the paint. When they couldn't get a shot in the paint, they would dish it out to the 3 point line. They get it there. Sometimes you get Kelsey Mitchell a little stop and pop from the mid range. Kelsey Mitchell coming off screens. Um, it was it was a tough watch as a Fever fan, or as a Las Vegas Aces fan, watching the Fever that game, and you think, man, when they get going like this, it's just so annoying. And the thing I always think about throughout the course of the series is how deep the Aces would sink on if there was a big in the paint. And it kept happening in this game. It happened in game four as well, where the Aces just got so far. They shrunk the floor so much to try to help when there's a center or a forward in the paint, that they leave the shooters open, and they leave them like maybe like a foot, like a stride too far away. So every time the Fever kicked it out, it would be almost wide open. The Aces would be scrambling to get out to the shooter. They just couldn't do it. Um, but that was about the end of it for the Fever, in that they had really good space and pace. But this game three, was all about hustle for the Aces. I have never seen the Aces hustle this much in this incarnation of this team. Um, it was superb effort. Um, it felt like they really wanted this game and they needed this game, which is I don't want to say an unexpected feeling from this team, but at times it feels like this team doesn't want it. And to see them out there in game three, really going for it, really understanding the moment, was good. It was a good character win as well for this Aces team. You don't have a lot of tools to work with. You don't have a lot of things to throw at this Fever team. So what you can do is control your intensity and control your effort. I think that's what they did a really good job of in game three. Um, but in my mind, what really lost this game, not to say the Fever weren't trying, but the Fever were just getting outworked a little bit, which was also strange because they're usually the harder working team in almost every one of their matchups they've had thus far in the playoffs. But the Fever just couldn't make anything coming down the stretch. Um, they they had a lot of players taking, I want to say, how do I want to phrase this? Taking just stupid shots, just shots you think, oh, maybe swing it one more time, maybe get another rotation of the ball. You know, it wasn't great. It really wasn't great. Um, the defense was still very much there for the Fever, coming down the stretch. Even though their shots started drying up a little bit, they did hold Asia Wilson almost completely dry, just completely out of it for almost two full quarters. Asia did not have a great game three. Um, Watching it, if I go look at the stats here, she ended the game with 13, which isn't great, but nevertheless, even watching it, it felt like she had 13. Um, and to close out this game three, um, Asia had a really good fourth quarter, made up the other three quarters in the fourth quarter. Um, what was perhaps her best fourth quarter of the playoffs thus far, when she's looked sort of meek and sort of non-existent at times throughout the course of this playoff run in the fourth quarter. She showed up big this game, and was one of these quarters, one of those quarters where I was actually highly impressed. And not to say like the four-time MVP can't do it, can't turn it on, but at this time in the game when I was watching, I was like, okay, now it's time to turn it on. Come on, four-time MVP, let's turn it on. And she did. She turned it on. The end of this game was just it was long and messy and boring, and it got to the point where you're just like, okay, guys, come on, let's finish up this game. We got the other game right after this one. It's Friday night. Come on, let's go. And nobody, and the funny thing was, nobody wanted the game to end. The game, it was just so drawn out, and it was fouls, free throws, fouls, free throws. You know, it was going back and forth. It wasn't a very exciting end to what was a very exciting game. However, um, we will dive into the numbers here a little bit. Again, not a great game for the Aces in the second half. Asia Wilson came to save the day in the fourth. Um, Fever just kept killing this Aces team with their speed. I run through some of these stats here. We have was it, one, two, three, four, five people in double digits. I'm going to refer to this game later, so I'm just going to go through this in a little more detail. Um, Asia Wilson 13 points, Chelsea Gray 15, Jackie Young 25, Melissa Smith 16, Dana Evans 12. Um, if we go look into the other statistical categories here, they are all over the place. Um, the assists are very low this game for the Aces. Asia Wilson had a team high 8 rebounds. Chelsea Gray had a team high 6 assists. Um, Lots of personal fouls. 5 personal fouls for Melissa Smith. Asia Wilson 4. Jackie Young 3. Turnovers weren't too bad. Jackie Young was a turnover machine. Same thing with Dana Evans. Let's see here. Blocks. 3 blocks for Asia Wilson. 1 steal for Asia. 6 of 20. 1 of 2 from 3. 38 minutes played. Damn, 38 minutes. Damn, that does actually sound about right. Um, Not a great game for Jewel Lloyd. 0 points. 0 of 3 from 3. Only took threes. One of the things I'm also going to reference later when talking about this series, um, is that Megan Gustafson got some minutes in game three. Jeez, opening up freaking ads. Um, Megan Gustafson, who's barely played. Same thing with Kia Stokes since like the latter half of the season. Um, and Megan Gustafson is so funny because I think she's a Yukon gal, right? She's a Yukon gal. I don't mean to make fun of her, by the way. It is gonna sound like I may make fun of her. She's from Iowa, pardon me. Um, Megan Steffen's out there because the Las Vegas Aces just desperately need some size. They just desperately need somebody else for the Fever just to feel size. And Megan Steffen was out there for a grand total of 6 minutes, right? Um, had 5 points, made 1 3, um, made 1 2 as well, 3 rebounds, right? And man, oh man, sometimes you could really just feel that Becky Hammond, the Las Vegas Aces head coach was like, I just need something else out there. Just go out there and look big. And that's what Megan Gustafson did. She would just go out there and just stand straight up and just wave her hands. And it was so hilarious. And it was even more hilarious in game two because she kind of got cooked in game four, probably. She got cooked in game four. But man, she was just out there running around looking big. Like, oh man, it was so funny because like she hadn't gotten play this whole latter half of the season really after they got Melissa Smith, and you could tell the Fever were kind of weirded out by it too because like Natasha Howard would turn around, like get in the post and then turn around. Aaliyah Boston would get in the post, turn around, and they turn and they go. You could see them. They go, whoa! And there's just this tall woman here just standing there, like just just absorbing minutes so the Aces can have some other big out there. Because when you don't have Melissa Smith out there, you don't have Asia Wilson, you're really running small at that point, and then you just have to bring Megan in to play a couple minutes to absorb some of that, especially since Melissa Smith had 5 personal fouls. But man, it was hilarious to see her out there. For the Fever, real quick. Aaliyah Boston, 12 points. Needed to step up in game four. Next game after this one, 5 of 16, um, 38 minutes. Not a great night. 8 rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers. Not great. Kelsey Mitchell, 21. Lexi Hull, 16. Um, was this that? This was also the game where I think Lexi Hull. Yeah, I think that was this game. Yeah, Lexi Hull was just standing places. I think this was this game. She was standing at different points in the court, and she was just throwing up threes, just throwing them up, just throwing them up. And again, the Aces were sinking so deep into the paint to help Asia Wilson, whoever was out there, that Lexi was just wide open parts of this game. Shea Petty, 8 points. Not the best game for this team. Um, Again, the final score was 72 and to the Aces 84. Um, I'm trying to put myself in that mindset of what I was thinking after this game, because then we had game four on Sunday, and that went completely differently. I think during that day, during the next day, that Saturday, I was thinking about this game, and I was just like, the Aces just need to do it one more time. They need to do this exact game one more time, because their defense was really good and their intensity was really good, and I was really surprised by this team. I thought maybe they would try to make it hard on themselves and drop the first game in Indiana and then get the second one, but they won this one. Asia looked good in the fourth, and the main thing I came away from this game and the game after this one, the fourth game, was how just interesting this battle of Aaliyah Boston and Asia Wilson, top right of your screen, is just so interesting because Aaliyah Boston is really like a traditional big, so to speak. Like doesn't really have like she shoots the three sometimes, shoots the mid range sometimes. She was a way better mid range shooter in college, but that's neither here nor there. And you have Asia Wilson, so this prototypical do it all forward, and they're just going at it in the paint. And sometimes Aaliyah Boston is getting the better of the 4-time MVP, and that's been one of the more impressive things about this series. That Asia Wilson has looked uncomfortable at times, even though in the fourth quarter of this game she was on fire. Some quarters of other games she's looked sort of normal. Um, but yeah, that was game three. We'll get back to game four in this series. But I do want to talk about, should we just go to game four? Maybe we should just go to game four. Let's go, maybe? Yeah, because I want to talk about this Lynx Mercury series sort of in depth, and we can talk about these two games. All right, so let's actually scratch that. Let's go to game four, Aces Fever. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just do this because then we can talk about what I want to talk about next. All right. So game four, Aces Fever. This was yesterday, Sunday. The Indiana Fever won this game. They rallied back after a game three loss. They had 90 points. Las Vegas Aces had 83. And this game was yesterday, so I can reflect a little bit more on this game and talk about it as it is a bit more recently. Um, I'm gonna be very over dramatic here in a couple seconds, um, because this game felt a little backbreaker ish. This felt a little worrisome, and I've been worried about the Aces. I said many months ago that they shouldn't even make the playoffs. This isn't a finals level team, and last night they didn't look like a finals level team. But you look at the performance of Game Three, you look at this one, it's the duality of a team that really doesn't have any depth. That's running off bubble gum and like sticks, and like they've made a whole boat. They made the Titanic out of a bubble gum and stick and rope and all that stuff. Um, I'm just reading my notes again. I'm sorry. Let's talk about Game Four. Let's talk about it. From my notes I have here, because this game was really just a back and forth. They were just throwing haymakers at each other. I put the Aces and Fever are both running all different kinds of defense, and through the big majority of this game, both teams would like go into zone. Sometimes they would go man. They were blitzing on Leah Boston in the post really early, which I really liked. I liked when they blitzed Leah Boston and tried to get the ball moving and get somebody to make the pass extra. That would be the bad pass and all that stuff that you should do. Um, in this sort of game where you're trying to close this series out, and both teams were doing it, and both teams got wise to it, and both teams like one would counter with one thing, and then the other one would counter with this. Um, that was really the first half of this game was just the mental mind games of, oh, they're running zone, they're running man, they're doing this, they're blitzing the post, they're bringing over this defender, they're bringing this person in. And there was a time where Aaliyah Boston was not on the floor and Asia Wilson was, and those minutes have been very far and few between for both these players. And the Aces kind of ruined that. I think it was maybe 4 minutes of game time where Asia had the worst defender on her than Boston. She didn't do anything with it. I think she took two total shots, three total shots, and they didn't. They I feel like that moment could have been so much more well done than it was, because Asia, four-time MVP, um, gets like a bit older of a Natasha Howard on her, and didn't do anything with it. Called for the ball a couple times, didn't get it. Just really worrying stuff that you're like, I know Natasha Howard isn't the best defender, and she's been in this league a long time, so she knows what she's doing. But the kind of defense Aaliyah Boston was playing on Asia this whole series, and is playing in it on Asia this whole series, um, was was is like all world compared to what Natasha Howard could do, or is it yeah is it Natasha? Yeah, it's Natasha. I'm sitting there. I'm gonna get my name. No, yeah, Natasha Howard. Yeah, I thought I was getting my names confused for a second. It would or could do on Asia Wilson. So yeah, this game again was a slugfest, and coming down to it, coming down to the end of the game. Um, um, what was I say? Oh, so coming down the stretch of the game here. Guess who's in again? Megan Gustafson. Is back in the game for the Aces, and there were some really good moments. There were some really good moments, and then there were just other moments where she's getting confused on a defensive assignment. She got outworked by the guards. She just couldn't stay in front of the guards for Indiana, and she was getting bullied in the post. She was really trying. There were some moments where I was really pulling for her, and she just couldn't do it. Aaliyah Boston was on a tear this game. We'll get to her in a second. Um, so it, the moments looked very bright for like a second. It's like, oh my god, this could be the game where Megan or somebody just shows up, and it didn't happen. Um, One of the main problems that started to happen was Asia was trying to force it, trying to get a good fourth quarter going, couldn't do it. And one of the most glaring things I saw was She was posting up way too far away from the paint, way too far away, and she had to work for her shot so much more. And the the Fever had done such a good job of guarding her and making her think she has to post up so far out. And Aaliyah Boston would do the exact opposite, and she would post so far in deep, and her shots were so easy and they looked so good. And it was the difference between the Aces getting hard shots and making them, and the Fever getting easy shots and making them and taking them, that really defined this game. And once I saw Asia posting up like way too far out, I knew this game was over. And the most worrisome thing about this win for the Fever and this loss for the Aces is that through the last couple minutes of this game, which were really big minutes, it had felt like the Fever had figured the Aces out. And what I mean by that, defensively, what they're running, and offensively, what they're trying to do. It felt like Coach Stephanie White and the players, however many there are on the that are actually playing any given night for the Fever, had figured this Aces team out because they figured out the Aces only can run certain things. They don't have this whole wheelhouse of things they can go to. It's either we have to play this way and we lose the game, or we have to play this way and we win the game for the Aces. Um, you can't turn to, oh, Asia's having a bad game. Jackie, even though you can do that, you can't go into a game like, oh, we think Asia's gonna have a bad game. Everybody needs to step up. Asia needs to have a good game, have a great game, and the whole team step up. Um, it I don't feel confident turning to Chelsea Gray. Um, I don't feel confident turning to Jackie Young. I don't feel confident turning to Jewel Lloyd or Dana Evans individually. What needs to happen in Game 5 is that the Aces need to, one, take the game very seriously, which I think they've composed themselves enough throughout the course of these 4 games to do that. But man, it can't just be Asia and somebody. It needs to be Asia and everybody that steps up in this Game 5. Because man, um, just a good game from Jackie Young probably won't get it done. Just a good game from Chelsea Gray won't get it done. Everybody needs to have a good game. Everybody, everybody, because those Indiana Fever players are gonna come out, and and like I said, I think they know what to do now, and that's the scary part about a series going this long is that the Aces don't have anything else to run. They just have to go with what got them here. The Fever can do 100 different things. And that's the most frustrating thing about them is they can do 100 different things. This was Aaliyah Boston's first really good game. 24 points, 14 rebounds, um, three, two blocks, 2 steals, 5 assists. Um, took 13 free throws, crazy. 7 for 15, man. And then you had Kelsey Mitchell, 25, 2 for 5 from three, 9 of 20 overall. If I'm the Aces, Aaliyah Boston can have a good game. You need to start really scheming defensively for Kelsey Mitchell to force her into a bad game. I mean, a full game, like a full bad game. Because if she even has one good quarter, it could mean the end of this season for the Aces. For everybody else on this Fever team, last night, 18 points for Odyssey Sims out of the blue. Shea Petty, 7 points. Um, the team is feisty, man, and it was really worrisome at the end of that game because it felt like the Aces had nothing else to throw. Like they had thrown the kitchen sink, and the only thing else they can throw is like the washer, the dryer, the something. Because the Aces are running out of options, man. They don't have a lot. They don't have a lot to turn to. Like in these moments during the regular season, during the preseason of this season, you thought, oh, this is when we're gonna unleash Jewel Lloyd on other teams, and Jewel Lloyd hasn't done shit the whole series, dude. And you look at this team, you're like, this team's so good. And then you look at the Fever and like, they look kind of bad. They're injured, right? And then you haven't taken them seriously, and now you're in this predicament where they might have figured you out. And yeah, I really don't want to preview this game. If you've been watching this series, I didn't think this would go 5. I thought maybe they would go like 4. Like it would have ended yesterday. It didn't. Obviously, as an Aces fan, I would be rooting for the Aces, but man, this Fever team has done crazier things. So we'll see if they can make it to the finals. Um, let's move on to Mercury Lynx here in a second. All right, let's move on to this next series. Now, how do I want to do this? Because I thought we'd be talking about a game 5 for this series, at least. Um, Spoiler: the Mercury won this series. That puts a wrench in my plans of how I'm gonna approach this. Because we have game 3 to talk about. The Mercury won it 84 to the Lynx 76, and then the Mercury won game 4 um, 86 to the Lynx 81. And there's a lot of things that have happened that transpired between that game and this game, and that was also something that I wanted to talk about. But I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. There's probably gonna be a game 5, right? And obviously there isn't a game 5. I think I'm gonna. I do have notes for these games, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm copping out that I didn't make any notes for this series or these 2 games. I did, but I think the this whole end of the video could just be about what went wrong for the Lynx, but also could be about what went right for the Mercury. So I think I'm gonna just throw out the game by game analysis and talk about these series. Talk about these last 2 games as like the penultimate games, the apex mountain for the Mercury, but also what went wrong with the Lynx. I will refer to my notes a little bit here um, as well. But 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Had to check something. So yeah, let's talk about. I guess the series. I do have these notes that I would like to get to. Um, let, let let's let's break down. Let's talk about these games a little bit, just a little bit. Um, Game 3. This was a big one. A lot of stuff happened at the end. Um, this felt like a real make or break game for the Lynx. Obviously, um, you win this game, you win the series. And there was a lot of controversy about this game, um, but mostly through the first half. The Mercury looked good. Um, they were going back and forth like the game earlier that day, which was Fever Aces, and it was pretty much a regular sort of game. Everybody was healthy for the most part. Natasha Cloud or Tisha Heidemann had a really good late third quarter. Um, the trying to think here. Okay, this is how I want to say this. So in the third, um, Tisha Heidemann was going off. The bigs were playing really well for Minnesota, um, but the lineups they had to run sometimes where it was Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann out there. Um, it killed them, and that's what kept the Mercury in this game was they would just go they would subtly go at Williams and Heidemann because they're a little bit smaller. They do have the speed to them, but once they get caught in these pick and roll actions, they get caught trying to help. They get caught in the passing lane. Um, it it kills them. It absolutely kills them. And the thing about um, this series was, and this whole playoff run for the Minnesota Lynx was that um, you really wanted Dejanay Carrington for these games, and she hasn't been able to play top left of your screen, um, and that was a killer. And then you were forced to run Heidemann and Williams out there. And you don't really want to do that all the time. And then at the end of this game, um, how did it? The Lynx were trying to inbound. Um, they were trying to get it to um, MVP runner-up Nafisa Collier, and as Nafisa Collier is reaching out to go get the ball, Alyssa Thomas, bottom left of your screen, um, goes in, gets a poke steal. This is after like a couple really good defensive plays by the um, by the Mercury too. So they're already in the flow defensively. They're already like locked in, and AT goes for the steal. Really throws it at throws her whole arm out there, picks the ball off, goes for it, gets the layup. It's over, right? Well, the game's technically over, but the buzzer hasn't gone off. But on the other side of the floor, um, Nafisa Collier is on the floor in pain. It looked like it looked like a normal steal, but then you watch the replay, like the Fee's ankle gives out. She like twists it really bad. Um, her knee hits Alyssa Thomas. She's grabbing her knee. She's grabbing her ankle. Looks terrible. Um, Coach for the Minnesota Lynx, Cheryl Reeves, is blowing up, like actually blowing up. Like she ran up to the ref. Da, 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 da. She gets kicked out. So Nafisa Collier's on the bench. Coach Reeves has been kicked out, and it's all the wheels have completely fallen off this game, right? Um, and I had put here, Nafisa Collier's down with another injury for the game. It's done for the game. Might be done for the series. And that leads me into game four, where Cheryl Reeves, in between game three, and game four, gets suspended by the league for one game. Um, it was thought that maybe Nafisa Kali had a fracture in her foot or her ankle or somewhere around there. Comes out, and Nafisa Kali doesn't have that. She's out for the game, though she's in the walking boot, so there's no structural damage. It's just like she tweaked it, basically. No knee damage either, so it's just her ankle they're dealing with. And she sits out game four, right? After a really pretty decent game, game three. Nafisa Kali was the best player on the Lynx for game three. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, 5 fouls, and 4 turnovers is not great, but she was the only one who really had it going consistently. Courtney Williams, 14. Cam McBride, 12. Nisha Heideman, 19, like I said. Really good offensively. Defensively is where she struggled. And this was the game. This was the game for the Mercury where this is the game they probably should have lost, but they didn't. And this is the game you look back on if you're the Lynx. You're like, man, if Nafisa Kali doesn't get injured, the series could have been over probably. Um, 21 for Alyssa Thomas, 8 and 9 rebounds and assists, 5 steals, 2 blocks. Um, Satu Sabali, 23, 4 rebounds, 2 of 4 from three, 5 of 11. Pretty conservative game, all things considered. Not real shot chucking. Kalia Copper, 21. And that's all they really needed. Nobody else off the bench was really, really hot at this time. And going into game four, like I set the stage for, no Nafisa Collier, no Dejanay Carrington, both injured, both on the bench, both on the little wheelie bikes, as you can see, top left. Um, and no Cheryl Reeves, more importantly for the Lynx. And I was not concerned one bit of how the Lynx would react um, start in the game. It was how they were going to finish the game. Because you have a lot of, and I use this term a lot, cute players. Like you've cute, like they're like, oh yeah, that's a cute little role player over there, you know. Oh yeah, they're cute, you know. They do a couple of they do the little things, you know. They hustle, you know. They're good players, right? And some of these players are all stars. Some of these players are all NBA caliber, all WNBA caliber players, right? And I wasn't concerned about how they would react, how they would start the game, how they finished the game. Um, Throughout the course of this game, the Lynx looked really good. Um, they ran a big lineup at times that was really good. It was Alana Smith, it was Bridget Carlton, it was Jessica Shepard. Um, that lineup with also Oh, jeez, I don't want to say it. Maria K. I wanted to say her name because she was so important in this game, but Maria, yeah, Maria K. Yeah, I don't want to butcher her last name because it is a mouthful. I don't want to butcher it. Maria K. MK. Yeah, MK Ultra. We'll call her. Um, the combination of the big lineup you were really running when you had Courtney Williams, Natisha Heidemann out there was actually really good, and I really liked the lineup because you could see that like the Lynx, the Mercury were trying to adjust to it because they weren't used to a hand being in that passing lane, a person being that tall trying to throw it over. Like it was the little things that the Lynx were getting the Mercury on that took some time to adjust for the Mercury, but um, they did adjust. Um, Elisa Thomas had a bad first half with those adjustments. She figured it out though. Satu Sabli doing good even with the bigger defenders on. It felt like Satu Sabli was even just more confident with not having Nafisa Collier out there and just having like maybe the slower footed bigs out there being Shepard, Carlton, and Smith. Um, Satu looked good. And throughout the course of the game, you could see the tide starting to shift, but it didn't fully shift. Um, the interim head coach, or I guess the one that was just coaching this game for the Lynx, did a really good job. I liked what he was doing, but he did end up get out coached by Nate Tibbetts. Um, I think it was Coach Tebow. Tebow. It sounded like they were saying Coach Tebow on the on the broadcast. We'll call him Coach Tebow for the Lynx. Um, the crack started the show. Um, Courtney Williams went out at some point during the latter half of the third with a hamstring injury. It looked like she like cramped up. She like tweaked it a little bit, so she was out for a couple minutes. The big lineup for the Lynx started looking a little hit or miss. Started getting down to the crunch time, and it started not to work. It started not to work. The Mercury started figuring it out. Um, Kale McBride started stepping up with some huge shots, some like really deep shots. And as an Aces fan, it pained me. It always pains me when Kale McBride does well because it's like, man, why couldn't you do this for the Aces? Um, but she had if there was a step up player of the game, Kale McBride was the step up player of the game. Amazing stuff for her. She did not want to go home. Um, was it Courtney Williams had some really great defense that you don't see from her often being a smaller guard. She was trying to get Satu Sabu was trying to post up Courtney, and Courtney was just not having it. Like she did some great ball denial, also in that third, and then Phoenix Mercury went on a run, at the start of the fourth. Cam McBride continued her huge shot making down the stretch. But it just wasn't enough. It didn't even feel like the Lynx lost because they weren't composed. It didn't feel like they lost because Nafisa Kali wasn't there. It just felt like the walls just started closing in. And this was the fear of when they started this game. It was like, okay, they can start the game good. They can play throughout the course of the game well. My biggest fear was the end of the game. And the end of the game was Cale McBride, and that was it. Um, and Cale McBride's a great player. I have a lot of respect for what she does. It just wasn't enough. 31 points for her. Um, just wasn't enough. 6 of 11. Some of these shots on the shot chart are crazy. Courtney Williams 20 points. Jessica Shepard 14 points. Um, a great effort. At the end of the game, you could see this team really love playing together. They really want to keep this core together. We'll talk about what's next for them in a minute, but um, this was an effort, and you could see it on everybody's face. Of like, wow, we just lost this game, and like everybody thought there was going to be a game five. Everybody thought it. The people on the bench thought it. Everybody thought it, and they just let it slip away, um, which is a shame. Let's talk about the winners here for a second, and then we'll get out of here. Um, Alyssa Smith, 25 points, 6 turnovers, not great. Those were mostly in the first half. 10 assists, 8 rebounds. Um, Satu Sabli, 21. Not much else. 3 of 7. 6 for 11, pretty good, pretty conservative night for her as well. Shot taking wise, Kalia Copper 13 points. Um, and the big play off the bench man for the Mercury was Dewana Bonner. Dewana Bonner had some insane shots at the end of this game, and it really started to break the spirits of the Lynx. Caleb McBride and her were going sharing big shots, going back and forth. Um, Dewana Bonner did prevail though. Um, and yeah, I just want to give some love to the Mercury, who I did not have a lot of high hopes in the season. I thought they'd be a pretty consummate professional team, and the pieces that they've had. I think they said it last night. They only brought two people back from last year's team. This is a completely different team, completely different mindset. First year as was it Nate Tibbetts as the head coach of the Mercury, and not his first year as a head coach, I believe, but his first year just coaching this team, bringing them together the way that he has, having this depth, having this like I alluded to it in my other video. Um, the Mercury have individually successful players. They aren't rich in experience as a team, but as individual players, they have a lot of experience. I told you guys about Alyssa Thomas. I told you guys about Clea Copper, Satu Sablu, who's a bit young. This is their first This is gonna be her first WNBA finals. Um, and then Dewana Bonner, lots of experience as a WNBA player as well, very successful as well. Um, and the Mercury won the game 86 to the Lynx 81. And to cap off this video, what is next for the Lynx? Um, I don't think there needs to be an overreaction like the Liberty had and they fired their head coach. I do think, however, there does need to be some sacrifices of this team. I think running it back is never a bad option, especially when you got to the finals last year. Maybe you got a poor matchup this year in the second round. Injury bug got you at the wrong time. Whatever the case is, right? You have to be able to go through this adversity. Um, I think that's what this team needs. Well, this team needed this loss, this Lynx team, because they weren't taking some of these matchups seriously enough. And I think this is something that you need. You need to have the success, then have the failure, then have success again to reach real success. Um, everybody on this team seemed really upset that they couldn't get it done, especially Kale McBride. Very emotional in our post game press conference. Um, she obviously hinted at the fact that she is an older player, so you know these moments are valuable, and all that sort of stuff. Um, I I'm hesitant to make any real big suggestions here about what they should do. I think the main thing is that you need to get teams out of series quicker. And you need to take the season a lot quicker. Um, from all the expectations and everything, um, I think from the outside looking in, you could look at this season as a failure. Um, I think internally you don't look at it like that, but obviously the optics of it look bad. You Nafisa Collier, MVP favorite the whole year, loses the award, doesn't get to play in the last game. Huge blow for her. For the team, um, best team in the regular season doesn't mean anything. And you sort of need to take a look back and think about the construction of this team. And you guys did well in the regular season, but what postseason moves can you make? Like you're gonna have to go through all of next year and all this off season thinking about what the team could have been if everybody was healthy, but also what this team could be if you got teams out a little bit quicker. If you got the the Valkyries out one game quicker, does Nafisa Collier get injured this game? Who knows? Um, I think they did the right thing in trying to get Dejanay Carrington for these moments. She just wasn't healthy. I think that's a must. I'm talking in circles because I really don't know what to say about this team other than that, like, this sort of reminds me of this Boston team, this Boston Celtics team in the NBA from a few years ago, where you won, you got to the finals, right? Um, then you sort of had a bad year, and then you made it back and you won. I think that's what this is sort of reminiscent of. There is going to need to be another key acquisition, though. As much as I like Jessica Shepard, Bridget Carlton, you need, and you have Alana Smith, Defensive Player of the Year this year. You need something else in the post. What is that? I don't know, but you need something. Um, I think I might have to dwell on this one. I don't have a result. I don't have a fix for this team as of this moment. I'll think about it though. And there will be no game five, and your other side, your left side of the bracket, the representatives from that side will be Phoenix Mercury. Wow, wow, wow! And then we'll see who is the other side on Tuesday. So yeah, that's it. A bit of a longer video. Just talking about this made me shell shocked. Like a quarter, like towards the end of the video. I don't know if you noticed it in my voice, but I was like, damn, the Mercury really did put some belt to ass and beat the Lynx. They beat they beat both the representative from one side of the bracket and the WNBA champs in one playoff run, which is crazy. And then if you get to play the Aces, they beat another WNBA champion from a couple years ago. Or if they play the Fever, they just dunk on them and sweep them in 4 games. Who knows? We'll find out soon. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed my NBA videos from a couple days ago. Did some preseason stuff for that. Check that out if you want. And yeah, that's the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.